Good evening, YouTube. Welcome to your Geography Paper 2 Human Geography Revision. How are we all? Hope you're all good in the chat. Oh, get the camera there. That's better. Hope you're all good in the chat. Thanks for joining us this evening for, as I say, our final Paper 2 AQA GCSE Geography preparations. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the structure of the exam, just some little reminders about tomorrow. You can hit us up in the chat with any questions about tomorrow's exam. Any content and things like that you just want to run over, you're more than welcome to ask me any questions for that. And we'll keep it, as long as you ask questions, we'll keep it as long as that, okay? So obviously, tomorrow, big day for all of you in the chat. We've got English in the morning, and then we've got, obviously, Geography Paper 2 in the afternoon. So I'm just going to run you through a little bit of Paper 2 in the afternoon. So it's 1 hour, 30 minutes. That means you've got to divide your time really carefully between the sections of the exam. Question 1 is urban issues and challenges. So that is your cities stuff, being question 1. That's 30 minutes of your time. So if you get in there at 1 o'clock, then obviously to 1:30 is your cities content. Then you've got question 2, economic world. So therefore, you've got lots of information about changing economies in a newly emerging economy country and in a HIC country. Depending on your school, will depend on which countries you study for that particular section. And then question 3 is UK resources. And then question 4 is food. Question 5 is water, and question 6 is energy. And if you're watching from my school, we answer question 5, which is water. So, what else is there? Thinking about good technique. Okay, so here's up in the chat, guys. What's effective technique that you're going to have to use in tomorrow's exam? What techniques are you going to be employing? Maybe for looking at the questions, or what you're going to do if you get to a 4-mark question, a 6-mark, a 9-mark. What are the techniques that you can remember that work well in your GCSE geography exam? We'll have a little reminder of the techniques. Let's say hello to everybody then. First of all, QI. Yes, good to see QI. Always comes in with a fact. UK throws away 9.5 million tons of food waste every single year. UK food waste could feed roughly 30 million people. Yeah. There's a little hint, actually. So question 3 is UK water, UK food, and UK energy. Most teachers around the country think that area will focus either on food or water, because energy is tested in paper 3, tidal energy in Morecambe Bay. So we think it's going to have more of a water or a food-based slant. And I would probably say out of those, more water-based questions. But you might have to be asked about sustainable food, which is a fact there. Hi, yes, Harry, good to see you, Harry. Bruno, good to see you. James, good to see you. Rosa, lovely to see you in the chat. And Alex, yes. And I like the Nike logo. Case studies and 9 markers. Okay. What are you asking me there? How to structure them, or what do I think might be the 9 markers? Let me know what you think there. Yeah, definitely bug the question. Read the question twice. Some people say you should read it 3 times, but I don't know if you've got enough time in geography to read it 3 times, but definitely read the question twice and bug the question. Box the command word and underline the geography words in the question. And those underlined words you must use in your answer. Yeah, use the underlined words in your answer. Yeah, so what? Every time you put a full stop, think, so what? And develop that point, okay? I've got a really good phrase for tomorrow. This means that. And it helps you explain a little bit further. So when you finish your sentence, this means that, or this leads to, or this is because. Great little sentences that you can use tomorrow. This means that, this leads to, and this is because. Okay. Okay. Any other good techniques that you're going to apply? In tomorrow's exam. I will share my screen and we'll have a little look at some of the essential things of tomorrow's paper as well. Present, share screen. Yeah, just keep hitting us up in the chat, guys, if you have a cats. What does that mean? Is that a structure of answering a question? Let us know. What does CATS actually stand for? Anagram for helping to structure further. Okay. Good. Do you know what it is? Can you write it out for us? I'll be interested to know what that is. Yeah. 9 markers must have a conclusion. You're going to get 2 9 markers tomorrow. 1 for cities, and then you'll have 1 for economic world. The 1 for cities has a SPAG mark. That's worth 12 marks, obviously, as part of that as well. So urban issues and challenges has a 12 marker. 9 plus 3 for SPAG, and then economic world has a 9 mark question. Look at the marks. It tells you how to structure it. Okay. Right. Let me present this here. Here we go. So I'll just run through some of the key things today that we think that are going to be on there, including some predictions. And again, you can consequently, as a result, therefore, ooh, Rosa, that is very good, by the way. Not heard of that one. Yeah, some really good ways to develop your answers. Yeah, top tip there, guys. That's good. Thanks for sharing. So let's have a little look then. Tomorrow's exam questions would be, or potentially be, here we go. So it's 1.5 hours, the paper. If you're at my school, you would study question 1, 2, 3, and 5. UK resources and UK water. For resources, we do think it's going to be UK water resources in particular. Might get a couple of questions about food. If you're watching from elsewhere, you might be asked questions on food and energy as well. So some good techniques to employ tomorrow is your bug. Make sure you box, underline, and glance at the marks. Use tea. Yay, cup of tea. Use tea to look for trends, evidence, anomalies. If you're given a picture, a map, or a graph, talk about patterns on that graph. What are the patterns? Are they increasing or decreasing? Is it the richer HIC countries that have increased, or is it the LIC countries that have increased? Look for patterns. Looking at the marks down the middle there, guys. If it's 2 marks, 2 things usually. 4 marks and 6 are usually 2 or 3 points that are developed further. The higher the grade you are, the less points you need to make, but you fully develop those and fully explain them. 9 markers have to have a conclusion, and wherever possible, talk about places. Really important to talk about places. Each paragraph, if you apply point, make your point, explain that point, and apply a place or apply a judgment or apply an opinion. You can see on the right hand side there, that's a really good strategy when writing your answers. I was doing a past paper earlier, sir. There was 4 marker on urban regeneration, followed by a 12 mark on urban change. Yeah, the 12, that must be the SPAG. It must have the spelling, punctuation, and grammar. I thought this was the Stratford. Is it not? Urban regeneration is Stratford in London for our school. Yeah, Stratford in London. Newham to the Olympic Regeneration Park. So talk about places. Really important to mention places in geography wherever possible. For example, in this place, yeah, places are going to be key in tomorrow's exam. So what I'm going to do now is tell you some things that I think are most likely to appear in the exam, and then you might ask me, okay, can you just kind of run through that one? Okay. So I think you might be asked about rates of migration in HIC countries, NE countries, and low-income countries. I think you could be asked about rural to urban migration tomorrow. Do you know what rural to urban migration is? That's something potentially that could come up. I've got a good feeling that opportunities of a city may come up. So depending on which school you go to, you may have studied opportunities in a LIC or LIC, a NE country. That could be Lagos, it could be Mumbai, it could be Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Yeah, my school, we studied Mumbai. So Mumbai opportunities I think is a strong chance that that might come up. And then you also need to know the opportunities in a HIC city. And I know many geographers across the country will have perhaps studied London. So yeah, London opportunities and Mumbai opportunities in particular, I think are going to be important. I think potentially important tomorrow might be how migration has impacted or changed a city. That might come up. How movement of people from another country coming into that city might have had an impact or an influence. So that could come up. And urban sustainability, like green management in cities, green spaces, I think potentially, the importance of green sustainability within a city. So which of those guys in our first little stop, is there any of those that you kind of would like me to run through in a couple of minutes? So is there any of those that you think, actually, I would like to just run through that one? So just to remind you, we had migration, we had opportunities in cities, and we kind of had migration to a city and the impact of that, and urban sustainability. Okay, hit us up in the chat, guys. Yeah, urban change is Stratford. Yeah, with Bruno. Yeah, you're right. So urban change is Stratford. Regeneration is if you're regenerating things, you're improving an area. So regeneration is the process of urban change. So I know you're getting a little bit mixed up there. Urban change is where any part of a city goes from this to this. And that's what's happened with Stratford. Through regeneration, it went from this to this. So regeneration is how you carry out urban change. Okay. So Stratford, London is your urban change case study. Yeah. So that is your urban change case study that you'll need. Just let me know in the chat if that clears it up. Right. Is there any of those that you would like me to go through in terms of paper 2, question 1, urban issues? Hit me up in the chat, guys. Migration, opportunities, impacts of migration, or urban sustainability in London. Freiburg, yeah, I would use Freiburg for sustainability. It's a really good case study for urban sustainability and green space. So yeah, Freiburg is a good one. I would use that if that comes up about urban sustainability, QI. For urban change, not really. It's not the best one for urban change. Have you got another one for urban change? Could you explain the impacts of migration on London? Absolutely. I thought that one would be the one that came up there. Okay. So again, if you want to make a few notes, this is something actually that we haven't covered too much in detail. So let me just jump to this slide here then. Okay. And we have a model answer. Anybody who's joining us, please jump in the chat, guys. Okay, I've got another question here. Yeah, so we're going to cover this, impacts of migration into a HIC city. Good. Question is, can both Lagos and Mumbai come up or just one? It won't say the name of the city in the question. It will say, discuss the opportunities within an LIC or NE city that you've studied. Yeah, something like that. So it won't ever say the name of the city. So whichever city you've studied, whether it's Lagos or Mumbai, focus on that one. Okay, so it won't name the city in the question. It will just say, for a city that you studied in an LIC or a NE country, what are the opportunities? And yeah, you choose your city then. Let me know if that answers your question. Okay, present. Here we go. So I don't know if you want to make any notes here, guys. So we've got a model answer about that says this is a 4-mark question. So again, we're predicting roughly about a 4-mark question. So explain how the character of a city or an area is affected by inward migration. So a typical answer might be something like this. In London is one of the most ethnically diverse cities in the world, one of the most multicultural cities in the world. There are 193 countries represented in the city of London. That's nearly every country in the world has a person from it who's in London. It's fantastic. Migration has had a significant impact on the characteristics of this city, particularly the East End of London. Now, the East End is where Stratford is. It's where Newham is. So that's an area that kind of links to it. Brick Lane in Shoreditch is home to a large Bangladeshi community. This is reflected by the large number of Indian curry houses along the street, as well as the Indian-styled street art, which showcases things important to Bangladeshi culture. You also have sari shops and things like that. So it's how the area that was once typically quintessentially British is now a very multicultural place. Second paragraph. In Whitechapel, the east of London, is a mosque. It's a focal point for the Muslim community. This large mosque accommodates 10,000 worshippers, which reflects the fact that 50% of this area is now Muslim. So there you go. That's one part of London where the geographer has described how a religious building's now there that wouldn't normally have been there, how the shops and services have been adapted to suit this Bangladeshi community in Brick Lane and Whitechapel. There's another area of London called Little India. It's in Southall. So Southall it has an area called Little India. And again, there, the whole area, pretty much, a large portion of the population are Indian, which means they follow Hinduism. So there's a large Hinduism influence there. And that's influenced, again, the religious buildings in that area. It's influenced the services and the shops and the facilities that are in that area. To make it more simple, what you could also do here, you could mention places like Burton and think about how Burton has perhaps changed based on the inward migration of people from places like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and more recently, Eastern Europe. So we've seen kind of in Horninglow and areas like that, where we've got an increase in kind of Eastern European supermarkets, which cater for that population. We've got mosques within the town of Burton, okay? So all of those things where a place is changed by the influence of overseas migration. Okay. So there's a little example. Again, just put it down to like 3 or 4 bullet points, and then you can unfold that when you get into your exam tomorrow. So I don't think it'll be a big question, but you might be asked how migration impacts a place. Again, you could talk about things like it provides more labor, so there's more people available to do jobs. It fills labor gaps. So, for example, this might sound quite bad, but obviously Eastern Europeans doing things like the car washing, okay, providing car washing services. So new services arise because of migrant populations as well. So the positives, basically celebrate the positives of having migrants in your town or your city and how it's actually changed that particular place. Okay. So hopefully you've got a few things there. Would the rising house prices from increased demand be a credible point? Yes, but with inward migration, they tend to seek cheaper, affordable housing. So if you think about any town and city, usually the new arrivals would have to find the cheaper accommodation within that town or within that city. And therefore, generally, they live in areas where house prices are low. That's what you tend to find. Could you mention? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, perfect, Bruno. You mentioned Chinatown. I should have mentioned that. Yeah, Chinatown in London. You've got Chinese restaurants. You've got Chinese lanterns up. You've got, you've got the Chinese. All the signage is in within Chinese. They have the Chinese festival. They have the dragon down the street. It's like where do the migrants bring that little bit of culture? You could talk about the Notting Hill Carnival. So if you get London come up, you could talk about the Notting Hill Carnival and how festivals are put on to celebrate, in that case, Caribbean culture, Caribbean foods. So you might get a question about the impacts of migration into a city, okay? And you can talk about job opportunities, increased labor. increased services, and how areas change, how the buildings change, religious buildings, services might change as well. Okay, yeah, really good. Urban change, Liverpool, yeah, really good one, QI. Liverpool waterfront is a fantastic urban change case study. Yeah, make sure you know that case study. Would rising house, yeah, okay, but no, sir, could you explain the impact of urban sprawl on the urban fringe? Yes. So, urban sprawl, in its simplest form, is where towns and cities grow into the surrounding area, into the surrounding countryside. So you've got to think about what's the environmental effect of the town growing outwards. Okay, hit us up in the chat, guys. What's the environmental impact of the town growing outwards in whether it be London or whatever? What's the impact of outward growth in the of the town or the city? Yeah, so potentially you could have deforestation. I do question 6, not question 4 or 5. Kissing live stream. Okay. At the moment we're talking about question 1. So you're more than welcome to talk about this. Yeah, question 1 is the one that we're studying. Yeah, more strain on public services, perhaps. Yeah. If you have an increasing urban area without developing new schools and hospitals, you're going to put more strain on those areas. Yeah, increased travel. Absolutely. Well done, Hayden. Yeah, if you expand your city outwards, people are going to have to travel back in. So things like transportation distances, ownership of cars, you're going to rely more on cars, therefore increased emissions, increased travel, increased congestion on roads, things like that. Yeah, well done, Karina. Loss of green space. Yeah, you're building on the green belt, so you're going to lose habitat space. You're going to take up agricultural land. Remember, green fields are not just belong to anybody. It's agricultural land. It's grazing land. It's crops. So it might impact on food supply. It might impact on food prices. You know, if we've got less people producing food, it might increase things like food prices, yet decreasing habitat as a result. So you're talking things like usually things that are on the edges. What's usually developed on edges of towns and cities? What things are developed on the edges of towns and cities? Absolutely. If you're urbanizing, if you're building outwards, you're going to have increased impermeable surfaces, more roads, more buildings, increased flood risk. Yeah, absolutely. Increased insurance costs. Yeah, you've nailed it here, Bruno. Yeah. Increased flood risk because of road development. Absolutely. Well done, you. Well done, Hayden. You're going to shorten the lag time, aren't you? So if you've got impermeable surfaces, the water's on the surface, very quickly gets to the rivers, it creates flooding. Yeah, so what's on the edges of cities? It's usually business parks. Yeah. Business or science parks are sometimes located on the edges of cities as well. Yeah, well done. Retail parks and usually residential areas. Okay. Yeah, well done, James. This area is called the rural urban fringe on the edge of our city. Good. Is there anything else on Q1 urban issues that you'd like me to quickly recap before I go on to Q2? So remember, I think rural urban migration. I'm thinking opportunities and urban change. Urban change. Make sure you know about urban change in your HIC and your LIC city. And urban sustainability. People seem to be quite happy with urban sustainability. Green transport, green energy, green space. Let's have a quick question here. What are the benefits of green space in urban areas? In the chat, what are the benefits of green space in urban areas? They could be, yeah. Industry is anything that creates money and profit, basically. So a business park is a type of industry. So benefits of green space, we think this might come up. So things like parks, gardens. Remember, you've got gardens as well. They're different. You might have things like people's personal gardens, green walls, vertical walls, rooftop gardens in London, rooftop gardens. hanging baskets. What are the benefits of green spaces? Okay, let's start then. So well done. Capture carbon. So through photosynthesis, plants will absorb CO2 and store it within their structures, leaves, stems, branches. So they sequence or capture carbon. They store carbon. So any green space is helping to reduce climate change. Yeah, so well done. Less pollution. Yeah, you're right. So what can happen is if you've got a lot of air pollution, plants will filter the air. They will clean the air. They will take out pollutants from the air. And also they can absorb noise pollution. I don't know if you realize that. So if you've got lots of trees and there's a busy road, trees and things like that can absorb noise and make it more peaceful within an urban area. Bearing in mind, London is 50% green space, even though it's a city. It's got 50% green space. Over 300 parks and gardens in London. So London clearly is a good example of green space areas. Yeah, well done. Bruno. Acts as a carbon sink, absorbs CO2. That's the main one that I'd expect to talk about. Encourages exercise. Yeah, I like this. Social sustainability. Park areas are places where people can, let me just get rid of that one, where people can exercise, where people can meet, families can meet. Yeah, it's a social space. It reduces obesity, puts less pressure on the NHS. Yeah, go for a walk, go for a jog, all that good stuff. Mental health, absolutely. Yeah, that'll be in the mark scheme. Fresh air, it's good for your mental health. I recommend when we finish this live stream, go for a little 15-minute walk. Yeah, you'll be so much better tomorrow. Just having that little bit of fresh air. I promise you. Yes, well done, Hayden. This is a very good answer. Plants absorb CO2. Help to reduce smog, improve health. Encourage tourism. Yeah, green space. So people would go to maybe Hyde Park in London to go for a walk or for a picnic. Might be a concert there as well. So things like concerts might be in parks as well. This is my favourite. Yeah, I'm a big lover of wildlife, biodiversity, habitats, animals, plants. Yeah, urban wildlife. Molly, yes, thank you. This is the one that lots of people forget. As soon as they've done rivers, they forget about it. But yeah, all green space intercepts rainwater. So it reduces the risk of flooding. It increases lag time. Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so I think we've nailed the green space one. We do feel that green space could come up tomorrow. Why does it such as bad air pollution? If London has plenty of green, why does it have such bad air pollution? It's probably due to offsetting. So there's that much traffic and industrial discharge of pollution. The trees that are there and the parks there still cannot offset all that pollution. It's the scale of it. Okay, we need more green space to offset the pollution in London. Okay, so before we move on, question one: is anybody else want me to recap anything related to rural to urban migration? Opportunities in urban areas, urban change, urban sustainability, and that was it. Heads up. Otherwise, we're going to question two. Okay, question two, economics. I think this is the trickiest section. Okay, so this is what I think could come up tomorrow. So make sure you've got your little checklist going here. They might ask you how we measure development. Okay, so development indicators, things like life expectancy, things like literacy rate, infant mortality rate, birth rate, death rate. They might ask you some general things about how do we measure how developed a country is. So those sort of things. But the one I've got a feeling about in the measures one is Human Development Index, because it's never been on, and I can't believe it's never been on in 7 years. Human Development Index, like what is the Human Development Index? So that could be on. So think about that. That might be one that might come up. They might ask you what natural increase is, because again, there's not been a question directly about natural increase. So do you know how to calculate natural increase? I'm thinking there may be a question about factors that lead to the development gap. So what are the physical economic and historical reasons why some countries are wealthier and more developed, UK, compared to countries that are less developed and less economically wealthy, such as Kenya. So what reasons are there for more developed and less developed countries? So that might be on tomorrow. A big heads up perhaps on a tourism case study. So how tourism has been used to close the development gap and help a country develop. So I don't know which countries you might have done, but just be aware of your tourism case study. My school studied Jamaica, how Jamaica has used tourism to economically develop. You might get a question about impacts of economic development. So how does industry impact on people and the environment? So that could be one that comes up. And I've also got a feeling about deindustrialization. So what is deindustrialization? And maybe an example of deindustrialization, where it's happened. And finally, the North-South divide and how we can close the North-South divide. So what strategies can be done to close the North-South divide? So this is a massive section. It's really hard to predict, and I've narrowed it down to probably about seven or eight things there, which I know is still quite a big list. But it's important that you definitely know those things. So just to recap, measures of development. Hit us up in the chat if any of these you think, I don't know that one, I need some help. Measures of development. Causes of uneven development. Oh, I missed one as well. Demographic transition model. The demographic transition model's not been on for a few years. So it's a demographic transition model. Tourism case study. Deindustrialization and North-South divide. Is there any of those that's worrying you significantly about those for tomorrow? Let me know. Hit us up in the chat, guys. And we can perhaps have a quick look. So I'll just catch up on the chat. So, sir, are you going over the content or just the questions on this live? Yeah, I'm going over content. So if there's something that you're worried about, yeah, please hit us up in the chat and I will help you plug that gap. So we are going over content. I have got other live streams on the channel that include all the content. So check out our videos on urban issues, economic world, resources. They're on the channel. On this channel, you can see those as well. It's a general paper too. Question content. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Rosa. What do you mean natural increase? Okay. Thank you, Bruno. Natural increase. Yeah. Natural increase is the births in a country minus the deaths. Usually the births are higher than the deaths, so then you get an increase in population. So let's say, for example, there are 5 births, 2 deaths. 5 minus 2 equals 3. 3 people have increased the population. So you've got 3 people who have been naturally increasing the population. So that's, in its simplest form, that's what natural increase is. I think it might be a 1 or 2 marker. It might say, what is natural increase? Natural increase is also higher in poorer countries. So poorer countries that have a high birth rate and a falling death rate tend to have a higher natural increase. The DTM model, right? Okay, let's go to that one then. Let's go to the DTM model. Thank you for your comment there. Right, so where is the DTM model? Here we go. Right. Let's remove that one. Present, stop, present, share screen. This one here, and share. So here we go, guys. This is the DTM, or demographic transition model. Demographic means population. Transition means change. It's a population change model. It's a 5-stage model. 5-stage model. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. In each stage, you can see the birth rate line. In this case, it's in yellow. The death rate line in green and the total population in blue. Okay, you see those 3 lines there. So stage 1 and stage 2 have a high birth rate. In those countries, the reason for the high birth rate is generally because of things like lack of contraception, high infant mortality. Lots of children die at an early age, so parents will have more children to compensate that. In the poorer nations, in LIC countries, children are seen as an asset, an economic asset. More children can work, they can make money for the family on the farm. So you can see that there in the box, why the birth rate is high. Death rate is high or in stage 2 starting to fall. That's because of things like improvements in water supplies, sanitation, flushing toilets and things like that start to get developed. Improvements in diet, healthcare improvements in the village, maybe a doctor or nurse, and slowly life expectancy is improving. Stage 1 and 2, you've got the Amazon tribes in stage 1, and in stage 2, all our low-income countries are in stage 2. Stage 3, you can see where the gap between the birth, the yellow and the green, it says, it's really faint, it says natural increase. So stage 2 and stage 3 is where natural increase is the highest. The births are really high and the deaths are falling. So you've got a big increase in your population, more births than deaths. In stage 3, the birth rate starts to fall. This is because of a couple of things. Countries such as India, China, Brazil, they've got access to contraception, the pill, condoms, family planning. There's less focus on agriculture in those countries and more focus on industrialized factory work. So you don't need lots of children to work in your local factory. So that shift from agriculture to industrial base means that less people are kind of having larger families. Also, this is really important. Education of women has improved. Education of girls has improved in stage 3. So because girls have got aspirations to go to college, like you people in the chat, go to university, get married later. So later marriage would mean that you'd have less children. Death rates are always improving as healthcare improves, maybe more Western medicines in Indian hospitals, in Brazilian hospitals. Doctors are improving, diet's improving, and all of those kind of good things. Stage 4 is the UK. Stage 4 has a low birth rate and a low death rate, but the birth rate is just above the death rate, as you can see on that picture. People in the UK generally have 1 to 2 children. And the reason for that is because women are career-based. Women are often having later marriages. The cost of raising children in HICs is very expensive. So people in HICs don't have so many children. Nursery costs, raising children, childcare costs, it's very expensive. Death rate here is low. Thankfully, you're probably going to live to about 80 years on average in the chat, maybe even more. 82 to 84 years, probably when as life expectancy increases. We've got Western medicine. We've got things like open heart surgery. We've got cancer treatments. We have very advanced medical care that preserves life. Also, in the Western countries, we have very good kind of pays in terms of holiday pay. So that helps with relaxation. More people have got disposable income, so they can go to a gym. They can go on holiday, they can go to a spa. These things help people live longer. Early retirement might mean that you live longer because you're not as stressed with work. Stage 5 is the declining stage. This is where a country's death rate, so look at the green line. The green line is higher than the births. This country is in a little bit of trouble because actually its population is declining and they are workers. They generate GNI, gross national income for the country. So this is countries like Germany and Japan. Death rate is higher than birth rate, and they have usually an aging population. So there's lots of people live there that are elderly, and therefore they're not of a reproductive age. So if the average age is 35 to 40, those people are not going to be reproducing because they've got an aging population. They're not technically old, but they're older in terms of reproductive age, and therefore the birth rate will be lower. So there you go. That is the demographic transition model. I don't think they'd ask you to talk about the whole thing, but they might actually talk about a particular stage. That's what they've done in the past. Describe stage 3 of the demographic transition model. Describe stage 5, things like that. Okay. So let's go back to the chat, see where we're up to. What is the demo? Yes, there you go. Let me know if that explains anything. Any questions about the demographic transition model before we move on? If anybody wants to ask anything. Tourism, yeah, tourism. I'll do tourism case study next. Tourism, all of them. Yeah, I might not be able to do all of them. I've done all of them on our channel previously, on the live stream. So if you check out the older live streams, you'll see all of this content there. So I would like to know about the measures of development are. Okay, cool. So we'll do that. Sir, for 2 mark questions and on the mark scheme, it allows. It shows 2 definitions. Does it mean I can't write one and explain it? Really good question. What I would say here is just really read the question. If it says state one reason, or if it says one in the question, obviously you can only say one thing and then you'd explain it. Okay. If it doesn't say one, then you can say 2 points. Okay. So look at the question. If it says one, they only want one. Okay. So one thing explained. So one thing explained is 2 marks. If it doesn't say one, then say 2 separate points. So 2 clear separate points. Hopefully that helps you. You can do that. Yeah, you can. Stage 5 is Japan. Yeah, good. Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. Okay. No way. Geography's live stream. Love this. Oh, yes. Love it. We're here for you. Whenever you, whatever questions you've got. Maybe have a notepad as well, because I'm going through some key things here. Right. So somebody asked me to do tourism and then measures of development. Let's do measures of development. There is no slide for this. So how do we measure the development of countries? Hit us up in the chat, guys. What can we use to measure the development of countries? Some of them are social measures, so they're measuring actual people. And some of them are economic measures. And they're the key measures that we use, social and economic. Fantastic. Let's see how many we can get here, guys. So, okay, Bruno, I'm going to give you a tip for this one, okay? For aid, right, helping a country, can you do sand dams? Yeah. It's an LIC or it's a knee country, aid, do sand dams, because you've then got the sand dam case study. Most of the sand dams are paid by Water Aid, which is a charity, which is an aid charity. Yeah. So I'm going to save you the effort. If it comes up with how aid has impacted an LIC or a knee country, use sand dams in Kenya. Top tip. Yeah. Because sand dams are paid for by aid charities. And then you don't need to learn something extra. Okay, what have we got, guys? Here we go. GNI, gross national income, correct. Also, gross national income per capita, which is the amount of money divided by the population. So you've got GNI and then you've got GNI per capita. They're both economic measures. We've got HDI, Human Development Index. Yeah, absolutely. This is the one that I think is going to be potentially on tomorrow. One that you might need, Human Development Index. So do you know what that is? Let me know if you don't know what that is. Life expectancy, yeah, good. Okay, some others are infant mortality rate. That is the number of children per 1,000 that die before the age of 1, before their first birthday. So infant mortality is a measure of poverty, really, and it measures the number of children that die before their first birthday, which is pretty damn sad, per 1,000 of the population. Literacy rate, the percentage of people who can read and write at 16. So percentage of people that can read and write at the age of 16. Birth rate, the number of births for every 1,000 people per year. The number of births per 1,000 per year. Okay. And death rate is the same but it's deaths per 1,000 per year. So the number of deaths per 1,000 per year. Okay. These are all measures of development, and the most comprehensive measure, the most accurate, the most useful, you'd argue, is HDI. So let's quickly just flash this up here. Let me just get rid of that one. Screen share. So I'll just show this one here. So this is the Human Development Index. There you go. So Human Development Index is a very comprehensive measure. It measures 3 things in one. So if you look at the little boxes, it measures how many years a child has been to school for, the average life expectancy, and the GDP, or the wealth per person, per capita. It's a United Nations measure, so it's developed by the United Nations to measure quality of life in a country. So if it asks you to say, how do you measure quality of life? How do you measure development? You could say, well, the United Nations have developed the Human Development Index. This is what it is. 3 measures: years of schooling, life expectancy, and wealth per person, GNI per capita. It's put into a formula then that gives you a result of 1 to 0. It's very accurate, and it's widely used. And if you look at the table there, number 1 in the world is Switzerland. So if you've got any Swiss viewers, they have the highest quality of life currently on earth, the Swiss. Then Norway, then Iceland, then Hong Kong. In the bottom, mainly African nations, we've got the bottom, South Sudan has the lowest quality of life in the world, which is very sad. They've got the lowest Human Development Index. So that's how we measure development. And Human Development Index is the most effective measure for development measures. So if it asks you to recommend one or to evaluate them, yeah, recommend the Human Development Index, because it's a very good one. And it's never been on the exam. It's on the specification, but it's never been on the exam. Right. So there we go. I'll leave that on for a second, guys. Olivia, yes, sir. What case studies would you recommend that I look over for tomorrow? Okay, so in summary for you, because you're from my school, make sure you know Mumbai and London. Okay, these are on our briefing slides. So if you go to our Showbie folder, go to our briefing slides. You've got Mumbai, you've got London. I also need you to revise Jamaica for tourism. I need you to revise. London in terms of impacts of urban change, like deindustrialization. So London and closure industry. I need you to revise sand dams, in particular for water. Yeah, so make sure you revise everything on that briefing, but they're the main ones. Hopefully that helps. Gross national income, well done. Yeah, I forgot that one. Yes, cats are dancing. I love your name. Yeah, people per doctor. The number of people per doctor, that is a good one. It's a social measure. It measures access to healthcare. So how many doctors there are for every... So there might be 1 doctor per 4,000 people. Literacy rate, well done, Karina, superb. Years of schooling, superb. Vaccino, GNI, life literacy rate, superb. So 2 of those are social, 1's an economic measure. GNI is economic, life and literacy are social measures. Social measures here, well done, we're good at this. Gross national income, human development, yes. Infant mortality, people per doctor, access to safe water. Yeah, percentage of access to safe water. Well done, Bruno. Thank you, sir. I don't know what HDI is. Hopefully you do now. Let me know if you don't. Temple Quarter regeneration. Yeah, that's not a case study that I've taught. But I do think you're going to need regeneration or urban change case study. Okay, so if the question comes up, urban change in a HIC city, then you should, Ellen, you should use Temple Quarter. So in question 1, HIC city change, go for Temple Quarter. Okay. And perhaps write down like 5 to 8 bullet points about Temple Quarter and what it's done. If your resource choice is food, do you still need to know about water? Yes, you do. Yeah, because question 3 is food, water, and energy all together. And then obviously you've studied food, so you'll do question 4. So tomorrow you'll be doing questions 1, 2, 3, and 4 if you've got food. Okay. But you do need to know about UK food, yeah. I think agribusiness will come up, but that maybe will come up on our stream a bit later. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yeah, well done, guys. Yes, that person does need to do it. You all need UK. Yes, you do. Correct. Well done, Ellen. Well done. Thought so. Excellent. You're so supportive of each other. Thanks, guys. Could you go over improvements and new developments in roads, rail, infrastructure, airport? That was on last year, Bruno. Dare I say it? Probably not going to be on this year. That's things like HS2 and things like that, isn't it? Heathrow. That was on last year. That was the 9-mark question last year. Transport improvements. It's less likely to be on this year. Sustainable living. That would be question 1, sustainable living, as well. Sorry if asking. No, sorry. What does capita mean? Capita means per person, basically. So if you've got £10 and there's 10 people, they'd all get £1 each. Yeah, that would be saying GNI per capita. GNI is £10 on its own. How much you've got is £10. GNI per capita would be £1 because you've got 10 people and you divide them and they all have £1 each. Per head, well done. Cool. Right, anything else for economic world? So just to remind you guys, if you have just joined, we've mentioned that measuring development is 1. Oh, tourism. So we think that tourism might be on how tourism is used to help a country develop. So let me go to that one. Tourism. Okay, so again, just be careful here. I don't know if you've done Jamaica in your school, but we looked at Jamaica. Okay, and I've just narrowed it down to a few key points. So Jamaica is in the Caribbean. It's a Caribbean island. It's rich in kind of beauty. It's rich in coral reefs. It's got rainforests. It's got mountains. It's got a rugged coastline. It is blessed by its beautiful natural environment. And the Jamaican government realized that this is a way that we could attract tourists. It's got a year-round climate of around about 25 to 30 degrees, so it's warm. It has seasonal rainfall, but it has a lot. It's got golden sandy beaches. It's got a lot going for it. So they thought, okay, let's promote tourism. Jamaica used to be owned by the British Empire. It used to be under our colonial rule. It was exploited by Britain. It was held back by Britain, and they took resources from it. They kind of held it back in terms of its development. But in 1962, it was given its sovereignty, independence. So it was given back to the people and given independence. Since then, Jamaica creates 20% of its income from tourism. So a fifth of its GDP comes from tourism. This is worth 4.1 billion to the economy, and it's creating 200,000 jobs in the island. A huge range of jobs, mainly in the tertiary sector. So service type jobs, working in hotels, running tours, working on the cruise ships that are nearby, working in infrastructure development, things like that. When you build hotels, you've got to build roads, you've got to build airports, you've got to build water supplies and sanitation, you've got to build electricity supplies. And all of that for the tourists that you have to put in place benefits all the local residents, the local Jamaicans. So now they have access to internet, water supplies, sanitation, and airports. So tourism is a great way of developing a country, but not just for the tourists, it benefits the locals as well. Government invest in infrastructure, say that, and the multiplier effect. I reckon you're going to talk about the multiplier effect tomorrow. The multiplier effect is where one thing improves another thing. So, for example, you give people a job, they have more money to spend. They've got more money to spend in shops and services. Shops and services and businesses make more money. They pay more tax to the government. More taxes means more money for schools and hospitals, and schools and hospitals improve. And That's kind of the multiplier effect, where one thing, creating wealth and jobs, leads to increased income, increased spending, and it goes round. So I've put here, people are wealthier, life expectancy and literacy rates improved. Yeah, more taxation. And now Jamaica is ranked 117th on the Human Development Index scale. So it's really developed its tourism around the north of the island. Montego Bay. Montego Bay is the main hub for tourism with its holiday resorts. Jamaica's been very smart. It's gone with like the high-end holidays. So often it's 5-star spa type holidays. So it attracts the wealthy Westerner. So I don't know, your family's been really busy, been working. Let's go to Jamaica and live a life of luxury in this 5-star all-inclusive luxury resort. So they've tried to attract the wealthy tourists as well, which creates a great amount of income. And Jamaica, without doubt, has significantly benefited from its tourism industry. It's had a positive impact on the island, and it's helped it to develop since 1962. So if it comes up again, it could be a 6, could be a 9 marker, but definitely, yeah, that's one that you could mention. Tourism in Jamaica had a significantly positive impact on the island. I mean, if you want to kind of balance it up in terms of an argument, if it's a 9 marker, you've got the environmental impact. Obviously, having tourism impacts on hotel development, habitat loss. Coral reefs have been damaged because of tourism and people visiting them and boats and things like that. That's had an impact. There's been conflict with locals and tourists. So people, like the locals not wanting the tourists to be there all the time and that kind of thing. And here's a smart one. A lot of people who visit the island visit on cruise ships. And people on cruise ships eat and dine and basically do everything on the cruise ship. They get off the cruise ship in Jamaica. They might go and sit on the beach. They might go and have a walk around, but they don't spend much money. And then they go back to their cruise ship and have their nice dinner, and they go off they go. So Jamaicans are getting very frustrated that cruise tourists are not spending enough on the island as they visit, and it's not benefiting their economy. They don't want the cruise ships coming in because basically they come, they visit the island, and basically you can do it for free. And the Jamaican tourism locals don't want that. They want to spend money, which benefits the economy. So yeah, cruise tourism is a bit controversial on the island, but yeah. But overall, tourism has been fantastic for the island of Jamaica. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you a little bit with the Jamaica case. So let me just catch up with the chat. What do you mean by an environmental one? Oh, access to, yeah. This say safe access to water could be social measure, and it could also be an environmental measure. What is Rostow's model? Ooh, good question. I don't know the answer is, but is it going to come up tomorrow? Let me think. I mean, Rostow's model is really, really important, just generally. Let me just, I don't think I've got it on here because I've prepared some slides for you guys, but yeah, Rostow's model. Okay. Let me just get this on screen here. Right, here we go. Let me just get rid of that one. Rostow's model. So Rostow's model is a model that shows how the economy of countries develops over time. Okay, it's a 5-stage model, so I'll go through it really, really quickly. Stage 1, the economy is in its traditional society, as you can see there. What does that mean? What that means is that people there are self-sufficient in terms of the way in which they earn their money and live. So, for example, in traditional society, most people are subsistence farmers. So they farm, they grow food for their families, and they might sell any food that's left over, any food that they've got left. It's never going to make you a lot of money. Your exports of your country are very low because people are farming, they're growing a bit of food, and they're selling a few items on, but the economy is kind of not very productive. Okay, subsistence farming. Stage 2, preconditions for takeoff. This is where you change farming from subsistence to commercial. So in places like Kenya now, their farms are large and they are producing food for export. These countries now are making more money economically because they're selling their commercial products. So Kenya sells green beans, exports them, sells lots of things, but that's the difference between stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 2 is commercial agriculture, exporting agriculture. Stage 3 is industrial revolution, factories, manufacturing the raw materials from stage 1 and 2, producing cars, beer, aeroplane engines. So stage 3 is like, think about China, industrialized. Stage 4 is the shift into service and service-based economy. So tertiary type jobs, rise in things like teaching, nursing, doctors, finance and banking, IT services, things like that, retail. So the economy shifts into those areas. And then number 5 is kind of age to maturity, mass consumption. This is when countries obviously consume a lot of resources, they buy a lot of things, and they sell a lot of things. There's a lot of trade. So stage 5 is trading, basically. Countries like the UK are in stage 5 of the Rostow's model. So it's to do with economics and imports and exports. As you go up that scale, imports and exports increase. The economies are growing as you go up the scale. If I ever go, yeah, HS2 is great, definitely. I went to Hornsey and Salford Keys to measure longshore drift. Is that in paper 2 or 3? Fieldwork is paper 3, Rayan. Hopefully you're still there. Yeah, Rayan is that's in paper 3. That's your fieldwork question. You'll need that on the 12th of June. Question 5. Book that was within the okay. Good. No social. Okay, thanks. That's paper 3. Everybody's chatting to everybody else. Do I need to know this for AQA? Yeah, this is AQA, guys. AQA. I do AQA. Good. I've never done Jamaica. What the hell? You don't have to, as long as you've done a tourism case study. Yeah, you only need a tour. You might have done a different one. Thank you, guys, in the chat. Case studies I've done is Rio, Bristol, Nigeria, Lesotho. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they cover it. Yeah, you've just done different case studies. That's all. Yeah, Lagos, Kenya. Right, a lot of people chatting to themselves. Wait, when's paper 2? When's paper 2? Paper 2 is tomorrow afternoon, Ethan. Paper 2 is tomorrow. Paper 2 is tomorrow. Paper 2 is tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of chat there. Okay, should we go on to question 3 then? I haven't revised geography at all. Would you say I should know? What should I know? A lot of things at the moment. What are your predictions for resources? Okay, right. Question 3, resources. Predictions for resources. Question 3. So this is UK food, UK water, UK energy. Because energy is in paper 3 with the tidal barrier, I think UK water is going to be heavily weighted in this section and maybe a bit on UK food. So let me have a quick look on my checklist here. Let me just get rid of that as well. Things I think could be in here. So I'm thinking sustainable. So in terms of food, agribusiness. Do you know what agribusiness is? If you don't, hit us up in the chat. We can sort it out. Sustainable food. I've got a feeling that could be on tomorrow. How do you make the UK food industry more sustainable? And for water, potentially the following for water. Water pollution in the UK. Water transfer in the UK are my 2 kind of picks from there. So water pollution and water transfer are the possibilities there. So let us know. Yes, this is AQA. Yeah, mate. It is. Yes. What are the case studies? There's lots of case studies. Which section do you mean, DDG? Which question do you mean? Game's gone. What do you mean? I can't go like this. Okay. Ooh, yeah. Water transfer, Kilda water, is correct. Well done. Kilda water is a great case study for water transfer. So which of those would you like me to cover? Agribusiness, sustainable food sources in the UK, water transfer, and water pollution. Any of those in particular that you'd like me to cover? Do you cover the Almira food case study? I'm afraid I don't. Sorry, no. My school specialise in water. Question 5, water pollution. Okay, let's run through a few of these then. Water transfer. Okay, we've got a huge range here. All right, let's just go for this then. So let me just get rid of that. So let's go to agribusiness. In the chat, guys, what is agribusiness? Can you tell me what UK agribusiness is? What do you think that might be, agribusiness? I bet we've got a really good answer if we form it together. It is. It's farming, growing crops, good. Large-scale farming, it is. Yes. It's farming where you are producing that many crops that you are selling nationally. Yeah, you might be providing national supermarkets, Tesco, Morrison's, Aldi. You might also have that much food that your farm is producing that you are exporting to international markets. Commercial farming, well done. That's the word, commercial farming. High profit, high export farming. Industrialized, yes, well done, the Lord of Mantis. Industrialized farming, lots of machinery, plows, combine harvesters, using GPS to track the field when you're planting your seeds, milking machinery, irrigation equipment that's all automated that waters your crops. It's industrialized farming, battery hen farms, lots of chickens within cages that are fed on a conveyor belt. It's that kind of massive scale food production. Yo, hi Justin, good to see you. Yeah, commercial farming, well done. So agribusiness is, have I got it here? Agribusiness. Let me just share this one. Okay, stop screen share, present. Okay, you've pretty much nailed it, guys. Agribusiness is the following. It is business, it's farming to generate large quantities of food for high profits. Producing food for major supermarkets or for export. It's intensive. You're using a lot of money, seeds, machinery, fertilizers, and irrigation equipment. You industrialize your farming methods. You've got battery hens. You've got high-tech machinery that does the milking, the irrigating, the planting. It's focused on high yields, not environmental sustainability. Environment is not as considered in agribusiness because they're trying to make money. A little case study there, if you wanted to drop one in, it's Heathland Growers in East Anglia. There is an agribusiness farm. It's over 2,000 football pitches wide. They use GPS tractors. They use automated irrigation systems. And they mainly grow wheat and barley. So that's agribusiness, highly profitable farming. Why is it beneficial? These farmers produce a lot of food for the UK. They provide a lot of food for our supermarkets, and actually at a lower cost. It's mass production of food, so it's actually a lower cost. You pay less for your eggs, you'll pay less for your chicken, you'll pay less for your bread. So it's positive, but it doesn't consider the environment. That's the problem. Okay, sustainability of food. So how to make food more sustainable. Ways to increase sustainability of food in the UK. Reduce food miles, buy local. Make sure you buy things that are labelled British, like the red tractor logo. Be a good one to do. Rather than importing foods from around the world, which can have a huge impact in terms of your carbon footprint, key term, carbon footprint, eat seasonally. Buy foods that are in season in Britain. Potatoes at the moment, things like that. Grow organic food that doesn't have pesticides or fertilizers in the production of them. And things like reduce packaging, reduce food waste. So if you've got food waste, give it to food banks. That's more sustainable. Give it to people who haven't got the food. Food banks. If we can reduce plastic packaging, plastic bags, use paper bags instead, things like that. That would be a sustainable food management strategy. Okay, so lots of things on sustainability of food there. Buy local, buy British, seasonal, organic, reduce plastic, and reduce food waste by giving it to food banks. So that is that one. Okay, water transfer. Let's have a look at that. I'm sure many of you are making notes. Please ask any questions if you want to. Hopefully that's helped you, Blythe. Sustainable food. Like tomatoes in Spain or from Italy? I forgot which one. It's probably Italy. I would say Italy for that one. But yeah, food miles is a key term. Food miles is the distance the food has traveled from the producer to the consumer. So how far food travels from the farmer, the producer, to the consumer is food miles. And the further your food miles are, the larger your carbon footprint, which is a key term. Carbon footprint is the amount of carbon released through your daily activities, and it's measured in tons of carbon per year. So food miles, if you buy food, say from other countries, your carbon footprint will be higher. You're having more impact on carbon emissions and therefore climate change. Predictions for question 3. That's what I'm talking about now at the moment, Maya. Agribusiness, agriculture, sustainable food production in the UK, which is on the slide at the moment. Water pollution, we're thinking possibly as well, which I'm going to mention in a minute as well. Agribusiness, advantages, it's efficient. Disadvantages, rural depopulation. Well done. Yeah, you don't need as many workers. These are mechanized farms. Clarkson's farm is an agribusiness farm. It's got, I don't know if anybody's been watching Clarkson's farm, but yeah, it's agribusiness farm. Highly profitable farm. Okay, let's move on. Water pollution in the UK. It's not good. So the cleanest rivers in the UK are in Scotland. They're in northern England. So they have generally rivers that are low levels of pollution in Scotland, northern areas of the UK. As soon as you come into central UK, where I live, near the River Trent, and if you live in the southeast, if you're in the chat and you live in the southeast, these are the most polluted rivers in the UK, with the Thames. You can mention Clarkson's farm, as an agribusiness farm, Olivia. So the Thames is probably a really good example of a river that's heavily polluted by a number of things. Okay, 3 things there on the slide. 3 things that pollute rivers in the UK. Untreated sewage. 32% of UK rivers have raw sewage pumped into them. This is legal. Under the current government, they've allowed for a certain amount of rivers to discharge sewage. I disagree with it, but hey, this is just the way that we are at the moment. And it costs money for water companies to process sewage. So if they're allowed to dump it into the river, therefore they're saving money on processing the sewage and treating the water. The other way that things get into rivers is waste and microplastics. So waste gets blown in from outside. And the main one, guys, number 3, is agricultural chemical runoff. This is a massive problem in UK rivers. It affects about 60% of UK rivers, where farmers spray crops with fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, and pesticide. Chemicals put on the crops, gets washed off in the rain, ends up in the river, and that leads to eutrophication, which is where chemicals cause algae to grow. Algae blocks out the sun. Plants die, they decompose, the fish die because of the lack of oxygen. So that's what we've got there. So they're the 3 processes there: sewage, waste and plastics, and agricultural runoff. So why is the quantity of water is important, but the quality of water is also very important. Why? The Environment Agency, which is the government agency who monitor UK rivers, so they will do water testing. They will measure the water to see the amount of nutrients in it and the amount of pollutants in that water, things like metals and things like that. They will remove sediment from the river. So if you've done things like Somerset levels, they remove sediment from the river. That helps to keep the river clean and clear. They might restrict boat travel on sections of river, again, to reduce pollution. And they impose fines, like the Thames water sewage scandal. I would definitely mention that tomorrow. If it comes up about water quality, talk about the Thames water sewage scandal, which is basically where the River Thames water have been putting a lot of sewage into the river, and they've been caught by testing. Basically, they've been caught that they've been putting uncontrolled amounts of sewage into the river, and therefore are likely to be fined. So Thames Water are looking to be fined now by the Environment Agency. So there you go. Chemical fertilizers, factory waste, factory discharge, chemicals from factories gets into water as well. Okay. So there's a little bit on water pollution if it comes up. As I say, it tends to be more of an issue in the south, central and south of England, where there's higher populations, there's more urbanization, there's more people living. That tends to be more of an issue. Okay, do schools only do one of food? What? Yes. Wastewater. Southeast is the most wastewater. Normally 2 times. Yeah. Eutrophication. It's a type of water pollution, basically. Yeah, it's a type of water pollution. Archie Redfern says hi. Hi, Archie. Thanks, Steve. I hope Archie's revising, by the way. Make sure you're revising, Archie. Schools do either. So it's a bit confusing. Question 3, you have to do. Everybody in the country does question 3, and it is food, water, and energy in the UK. And then you have to do another specialist topic of either food or water or energy, which is it's more of a global one. Okay. So which one do you do, DDG? Which specialism do you have? Our school does food, water, energy, but I can pick one. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Good. Right. So the last one was water transfer, I think. So here we go. Water transfer. Kilda water. I know somebody. Who was it in the chat? Somebody in the chat mentioned this anyway. Apologies, I've forgotten your name. Water transfer is where you take water from a surplus area to a deficit area, from an area where there's lots of it to an area where there's not much of it, where the supply is low and the demand is high. So, for example, Kilda water, which is near the Lake District in northwest England, and then there's a pipe that goes across the Pennines, across to eastern England to Newcastle. Okay, and it's transferred. You can see it in the picture there, transferred in the pipeline. So let's have a look at this model answer. If a question comes up, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of water transfer in the UK. Large-scale water transfer schemes have lots of advantages and disadvantages. Firstly, they ensure that people living in areas of deficit, shortage, have more water supply. This means that they are not affected by droughts on a regular basis and means they can grow food on a small scale. Secondly, it's good for the economy. Industries in that area use a lot of water for different processes. So this provides a reliable supply, which means their demands are met, which could increase economic production, create jobs, and stimulate economic growth. They also ensure that farmers have enough water for irrigation, meaning their crops and their crop yields are higher, they grow more crops, which they can sell, which increases their profits and additionally helps to increase the food security in the area. However, that phrase there is really good. However, start your paragraphs with however when you want to flip the argument. However, there are a number of issues. Water transfer is very expensive. You have to create huge pipelines across your country, which will cause constant maintenance and will disrupt habitats for wildlife as they're constructed. Furthermore, they have a big impact on river habitats as they usually need to have a dam which is built to block, which can block species from migrating up and down the river. The dam allows the reservoir to fill up behind it, but the reservoir is deeper than the existing river. The water temperature is much lower and species might be impacted. So basically, there's a huge environmental impact of transferring water in pipes and building the structure to transfer water across a country. So that is water transfer. Okay, anything else on resources? Let's have a quick look. Hayden, our school does water with China. Yes, so do we. I'm going to talk about those. I'm going to talk about sand dams. I think sand dams, Hayden, will be on tomorrow. I think sustainable water management potentially is on tomorrow. So your school is the same as my school, China and sand dams. Would you be able to cover the Elan Valley water transfer scheme? I haven't got that case study at hand. Yeah, I don't really know that one. I know the Kilda water one, which is the one I've just talked about. Don't really know the Elan Valley one. Sorry, Annabella. But you might need that, by the way. So I know that's not very helpful. Try and have a little look on the internet as we drop out of this, because water transfer might be, if it says about large scale water projects in the UK, that is water transfer projects. Do you need to refer to cases? Yes. Yeah, DDG always mention places. I tell my school, in every paragraph, include a place. Yeah, in every paragraph, tell me a place. It's a really good strategy. Yeah, when you write a paragraph, 6 markers, usually 2 paragraphs. 2 places should be mentioned. Yeah, an example would be good. Just Googled it. 167. So do you know how much? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, guys, well done. You don't need me. Yeah, the Kilda Water Transfer Project cost 167 million. And it's been classed as a successful large-scale water management project. Is that the real DDG? Don't know what that means. DDG, are you famous or something? Have you got like loads of followers? I don't know. Well, I'm doing my GCSEs. What do you think? Me, Ted. All right, okay. Thank you. Right, shall we go on to the next section? Any more questions about UK resources? So I cannot help, unfortunately, with UK with food or energy now, but I am going to talk about water as a topic, specialist topic. So for question 5, what do I think might come up? I've got a few feelings here. There's 2 in particular. The impact of water insecurity on a country. Now, if you are still joining the chat, I think you might get a question about impacts of food insecurity in a place. So have you got a case study for food insecurity in a place that you've studied where there's a lack of food? I think my geographers are going to get impacts of water insecurity, a place that's got a lack of water. And if you do energy, the impacts of energy insecurity in a place. Yeah. So a case study linked to that. So I think that's going to potentially come up. And I also think sustainable management of food, sustainable management of water, sustainable management of energy. So whichever topic you do, I think those will come up. Nigeria Shell. Yes, it could be on there. Impacts of, that'd be question 2, impacts of industry on the environment. Impacts of industry on the environment. Do you want me to go over that? Why? Do you want me to go over in Nigeria? Nigerian Shell, much love. Yeah. I'm going to revise energy now. Thank you. Awesome. If you revise energy, as I say, impacts of energy insecurity on a place and sustainable energy. Yeah, revise those 2 things in particular. Water. Should I do food or... Yeah, you choose. Okay. Yes, hello. Do you think the South Lakes, North Somerset case studies will come up? Oh, I'm not too familiar with what those... So Somerset, is that the flooding one, Eric? Is that flooding? Let me know. Somerset levels, are you getting, is that what you mean? Somerset levels? Do you reckon it's worth knowing about globalization? Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. So globalization is the interconnectedness of places. So places become connected through trade, through people, migration, and through ideas. So globalization is this interconnectedness of the globe. That's what it means. So countries trading with each other, countries, people moving, like migration for holidays and to work. That's globalization. And the flow of culture and ideas is globalization. Yeah. How does it impact the economy? It has a massive impact on the economy. Obviously, countries buy and sell, imports and exports. Labor moves. So people will move from one country to another to work. So again, that's part of economic factors. Yeah, and obviously, if you've got a global market, you can sell your products around the world. So what tends to happen there is we tend to make our products in China or in India, where it's low cost labor, and then we sell it in developed countries where you can get high prices for the goods. So that's what it means. Globalization of the economy, produce it in the cheaper countries, manufacture it in the cheaper countries, and then sell it in the wealthier countries as well. So a little bit of a summary. Right, okay, someone's mentioned Nigeria, so I'm just going to nip back to that, then we'll do impacts. Because I know some people are here to have I got where's Nigeria? I don't know if I've got Nigeria actually. Let me just have a quick look. Oh, I have got Nigeria. Okay, stop sharing, present, share screen. Okay, here you go, guys. Here's Nigeria very quickly. So if you get asked about the impact of industry on a LIC or NE country, here is the one that we study. We study Nigeria. Okay. So Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa. By 2050, it's going to be the 21st largest economy in the world. It's mainly based its economy around oil. Oil is a valuable resource. That's its main export. It is a primary product economy. It sells one thing mainly to the world. Primary product is oil. However, the oil industry and Shell have had a massive, massive impact on people's lives in this country. So if you have a look at the blue, these are the social and economic impacts. Poor health, environmental pollution, and life expectancy is still only 54 years. The government don't always reinvest the money from the oil industry and profits from the oil back into the country. There's a lack of investment in education. There's a lack of investment in healthcare, despite these oil companies making a lot of profit. Profits often go overseas to places like the UK and the Netherlands because Shell is part owned by the UK, part owned by the Netherlands. So the money, the major profits go elsewhere. Quality of life in Nigeria is still low. People living in slums, such as the Makoko slum, 57% of people still lack basic sanitation in that country. So has the industry impacted people's lives? Yes, but largely in a negative way, okay? Largely in a negative way. There is a lot of people employed by Shell. Over 200,000 people have got jobs with Shell, which is good. That's a positive. Impacts of Shell on the environment are significant. The oil spills are disastrous. So we've got deforestation, we've got air pollution 30 times higher, we've got oil spills. The oil contaminates rivers, it contaminates the soil, it impacts agriculture, impacts fishing. Massive impacts. Oil disaster example is Bodo oil disaster. 2008-2009, Shell spilled 17 million tons of oil on the Niger Delta, and the cost of damage to clean up was 55 million. Shell made 42 billion in profits last year. So what I'm trying to say there is it's making huge amounts of profits, and the impact on the environment is significant, but it doesn't really use any of its money to clean up the environment. Okay. It's been exploited. Nigeria has been exploited for its oil. Yeah, and if you're trying to get a grade 9, this is an example of perhaps neo-colonialism, where countries still control other countries and take resources, even though they don't have an empire any longer. So there's an example of neo-colonialism here. So if you want to be really smart about it, there you go. This country has still been heavily controlled by the UK and Netherlands through Shell oil. And Nigeria hasn't really, it has improved its wealth, but the country is still paying a significant price socially and environmentally for oil production. Okay, let's catch up with the chat. Where did I get to? Oh yeah, globalization. Transport, I don't think transport will be, it's less likely. Sustainable transport might be in question 1. Things like EV vehicles, park and ride, Boris bikes, cycle schemes, cycle lanes, electric buses, trams, electric trams, public transport, congestion charging. That might be in question 1. How are cities developing sustainable transport? That potentially could be on. Could you explain political and environmental importance of Nigeria? Political importance is, remember what, who was it now? It was Barack Obama. If Nigeria fails, Africa fails. Nigeria is the most successful economy currently in Africa. So politically, it has influence because its economy is the strongest. So politically, it's influenced. Environmental importance, yeah, it's got desert in the north. It's got rainforests in the south. It's got a beautiful delta called the Niger Delta. They're the main features, really. The delta, the Niger River. The Niger River is a beautiful river that flows through Nigeria. And the Sahara Desert is to the north. So, yeah, they're the environmental importance. So, Sahara Desert, tropical rainforest in the south. You've got the Niger River and you've got the Niger Delta, which is a beautiful depositional landform. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Bruno. Could you talk about urban sprawl and opportunities and challenges? Also, do you think there will be a map? I definitely think there'll be an OS map question. Yes. I do think you're going to need to know your 4-figure and 6-figure grid reference and maybe measuring distances. Yep. So OS maps, I think, are going to be on there. Either in question 1 or question 2. Yeah, one of those 2 sections, I feel. Greenbelt. Yeah, we've kind of covered urban sprawl already. Danny Dawlins. Yeah, so if you go back to the earlier, when this live stream ends, if you go back to the earlier point, we did cover urban sprawl and opportunities and challenges of it as well. Can we talk about Silvertown Tunnel of Fuss? I don't know that case study, I'm afraid. But I do think you need to know sustainable transport tomorrow. So, as again, when we drop out of this, have a little look. Right, I'm going to go to Sandams very quickly. And then I think I'll just answer any final questions, and then I'll give you time, then you guys, just to wrap up any other questions that you've got. Okay, so Sandams comes under sustainable water management. Question 5. It might say small scale water management, might say low income country, might say sustainable water management. Sand dams are fantastic. Sand dams are built across a seasonal river in places like Kenya. They're built by charities such as WaterAid. So people give money to WaterAid come in and they will build a sand dam. Okay. Sand dams are this concrete dam built across the river. They're an example of affordable technology and appropriate technology. Appropriate because they are low cost. They cost around about £10,000 and they don't need much maintenance. So they can be maintained by the local people. They're built by the local community. They are appropriate for the people that are going to use it. Easy to repair, easy to maintain. Big thing about sand dams, it's mainly women and girls that miss school and miss work to go to collect water. So therefore, if they build a sand dam, women can go to work, girls can go to school. It creates equality, creates gender equality. Women are open to the same opportunities as men. So positives of sand dams, there are many. More water for the area to irrigate crops. More crops are grown, higher yields, more food. Women get to go to work, girls get to go to school, the empowerment of women and girls. These are community projects created by the people, built by the people, for the local people. They are bottom up. The people build them. Governments are not involved here. This is aid, this is charity, this is local people. Oops, let me just get with that. No disruption to the ecosystem. Yeah, they cause very little impact. In fact, valleys go green when you build sand dams. Grasses grow, trees grow, flowers and plants grow. They attract wildlife to the area. So increased biodiversity. They're affordable, £10,000 approximately to build a sand dam. They're very sustainable. I can only think of one disadvantage of a sand dam, and that is you can only build them on a seasonal river. And if your area hasn't got this river that flows for a few months a year, then you can't really build them. The sand on the top of the sand dam stops evaporation of water, so you don't lose water. So the sand protects the water supply. It filters the water. The sand filters the water to make sure it's clean and less likely to have waterborne diseases. And it prevents evaporation. So they are superb strategies, are sand dams. Okay. Right, let's catch up with the chat, and then I think we might wrap it up there, guys, unless you've got any other questions. If the question about international migration affected UK cities have studied, can I say that a migrant from China to Liverpool led to Chinatown? Yeah. You can talk about your own city. Absolutely fine. If you live in Liverpool and you know how Liverpool has changed and it's got a Chinatown or it's got a little India or something like that, yeah, talk about the buildings, talk about the people, talk about the festivals. That is exactly right. Yeah. Louis, you can do that. Awesome, mate. What do you think the sixth marker will be for the energy section on research? Okay, so I think it's either going to be the impact of energy insecurity on a country. So you must have done a case study about a country that has a lack of energy and how people are suffering because of a lack of energy. Okay. Or it could be on sustainable energy. So what can you do to make energy resources more sustainable? So that is what I think you're more likely to get. Obviously, it's not 100% this, but that's what you're more likely to get. Would the role of that is correct, yeah. They do offer a lot of UN peacekeeping forces. Absolutely. Well done, Bruno. Oh my God, that's really impressive. Yeah, they're involved in peacekeeping, yeah, that'd be a good one. What exam board is this? This is AQA. Thank you, sir. Silvertown Tunnel was the new tunnel recently built near the O2. I don't see why we couldn't use it. If it's sustainable transport, I don't know too much about it, but it's for sustainable transport, yeah. Or you could even link it to the economy. It allows for the flow of people to get to work, things like that. Can I have some words of encouragement? Yes, you will be fantastic tomorrow. Make sure you read the questions very, very carefully and make sure you continue to revise and go for a little walk this evening to get some fresh air, and make sure you go to bed early so you're nice and alert for tomorrow. Reasons for a changing industrial structure. Did you cover this? So, not really. Let me quickly go over this then. So, primary industry, farming, okay? The reason why we go from farming to secondary, which is factories and manufacturing, is usually something called mechanization. So farmers went from using spades and shovels and forks to using tractors, combine harvesters, and irrigation. And because of all the machinery on the farm, they didn't need as many farm workers. So people then, rural to urban migration, went to live and work in towns and cities like London, Leeds, Manchester, and they went to work in the factories. So mechanization is the first thing that led to a change in industry. Then you've got secondary industry. So you've got manufacturing. So what happened to the factories? Two things happened to the factories, or one main thing, globalization. So businesses worked out it was cheaper to make it in China than it is to make it here in the UK, the products. So a lot of the manufacturing went to places like China or India or Bangladesh, where labor's cheaper, environmental laws are more relaxed, things like that. So we had here, this is the main one, deindustrialization. So our industry closed, deindustrialization, and then we had the rise of services, tertiary and quaternary research. So to your question, the main reasons for economic change are mechanization from farming to factories, globalization from industry to services, and deindustrialization. When the factories closed and areas went into decline, they had to move into services. Hopefully that helps you, Maya. Thank you, Harry. Thank you. Good to see you. Peru. It's not a case study I'm familiar with, I'm afraid, and I don't know what. You have to give me a bit more detail. Thank you. You're more than welcome for any question. Different type. For a question, can you use two different types? Yeah, you can. You can mention two places. Absolutely. As long as you mention at least one place, that's the key thing. Yeah, 6 marker and 9 markers. You should have a place in there. Yeah, you should be mentioning a place in your 6 and 9 markers. Yes, sir. HS2, you could talk about if it asks about transport and the economy. So, or the north-south divide, basically. So, basically, transport improvements in the UK, or how we can get wealth into the north of England with that new railway line, HS2 from London to Birmingham, means that the wealth could spread north. Businesses might invest further north. People from London maybe travel to the north to work as well. So it's kind of the movement of people and that. Nissan, yeah, sustainable industry, absolutely. The Nissan factory, that's a good one to do. Have you got anything on the Nissan factory? I haven't got anything on the Nissan factory, but we do. Where is it now? Let me find it. I can give you something slightly similar. Here we go. Let me give you this. Here you go. So to your question, Annabella, here we go. So we use Toyota factory in Burnaston, and there's 6 things about what that factory does that's sustainable. So this is UK sustainable industry. So they make Toyota cars there, like the Prius and things like that. So they have 0 landfill. There's no waste from that factory that goes into a landfill site. They have solar panels on the roof. They have a wind turbine on site, which is renewable. They rainwater harvest from the roof. They collect rainwater and reuse that water. They make actually electric vehicles in the factory, so that is also environmentally sustainable. And they have planted trees and wildflowers around the factory. So again, UK sustainable industry could be there as well. So hopefully that helps you, Annabella. The Nissan case studies are basically exactly the same as that. It says the same things. They've got a wind turbine. They've got solar panels as well. It's the same case study. It's just a different factory. So Annabella, there you go. It's a car factory, Toyota car factory. You're welcome, Ethan. Hopefully that inspired you. If it asks about opportunities in an NIC, can you also say, on the other hand, talk about challenges? No, not really, no. Oh, just read the question carefully. If they're really nice to you tomorrow, they might say, discuss the opportunities and challenges in a NE city. They might. But if it says opportunities, and or maybe if the question says this, if the question says to what extent to what extent are there opportunities for people living in a niche city that you've studied? If it says to what extent, you can do both. Okay, you can talk about, well, yes, there is lots of opportunities. However, there are some challenges. So if the question says to what extent, then that would work. However, if it says discuss the opportunities within a city, I would stick with opportunities. Okay, for that answer. Ooh, someone else. Yeah, you beat me to it. Yeah, well done, Annabella. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, if it says to what extent, you could look at both sides, or they assess the extent. Yeah. Do you think a JCB case study could come up? What have you done that for sustainability, sustainable industry? Yeah, potentially. If that's your sustainable British industry, then absolutely it can come up. Yeah. Nigeria, not for life. Net for life. Nissan Sunderland, yeah, you can use that. All these car factories are kind of the same. They've got a wind turbine, they've got solar panels, they've got tree planting, they've got green space around them. Nissan create the Nissan Leaf, which is an EV, it's an electric vehicle. So the one on there is Toyota, but they're all kind of the same. Science Parks was on last year. Science Parks on last year. Business Parks potentially could be on. Potentially could be on. I think I've got something on Business Parks as well. Or have I? Maybe I have somewhere. Yeah, Business Parks here, look. So I've got something on Business Parks. There you go. Look, Business Parks are areas of businesses that group together, usually on the edge of a town or city. So a business park is a place where businesses are on the town or city. Often built on a large area of land, flat with room to expand, near major roads. So you can see that road there. For my geographers, that's the A38. And it's got Amazon. Amazon factory is on Amazon distribution center, where they store the things before they come to the houses, is on there. Small scale manufacturing provide hundreds of thousands of local people's jobs, and they're great for the economy. They provide jobs for the local area. And there you go. The business park here in example is in Burton upon Trent, the Quintus Business Park. It's 50 acres. It's got an Amazon distribution. It's got a hotel, pub, tree planting, and a gym. It's also got a gym on there as well. So that's a business park one, yeah. So that potentially could come up. Business parks help to close the north-south divide. If we build more business parks in the north of England, which is generally poorer and a lower quality of life, that creates jobs and employment in the north. So business parks you can talk about when you talk about things like closing the north-south divide. Do you use a case study for 6? Yeah, absolutely. You should definitely use places when you've got 6 and 9 mark questions, yeah, especially the 9 mark, yeah. But even like for a 4 mark question, just put e.g. Toyota Burniston, e.g. Quintus Business Park in Burton, okay, e.g. Liverpool Waterfront, e.g. London Docklands, yeah. You can always mention places. As geographers, try and mention places in your exam. Will there be? Yes, there will be an OS map figure tomorrow. Are you worried about OS maps? There will definitely be an OS map figure, and they might ask you to pick out features, 4-figure, 6-figure grid references, things like that. What about Liverpool? Yeah, Liverpool could be on there for your. If you've studied Liverpool, yeah, it will be on there. Chances are it's going to be on there. Have you studied Liverpool for opportunities and challenges? T, don't know. Can you talk about the UK leaving the EU, like free movement of goods and people within? Yeah, that's an economic change that's affected the UK economy quite significantly. because it meant that we couldn't trade as easily with our European countries, buying and selling, and also that it's limited migration between Europe and the UK. Oh, bless you guys, sorry. So yeah, leaving the EU has had an economic impact on the UK, both trade and migration. Positive and negative for those things. Right, any other questions, guys? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. You've been absolutely amazing. Thank you for joining tonight's live stream. If you want to check out any of the other videos on our channel, it includes all the content that we think are more likely to come up tomorrow. So yeah, you can have a look at those on the back catalogue. Thank you for all your questions. I think tomorrow you're going to be fantastic. Make sure you read those questions twice. Make sure you talk about places, and yeah, make sure you finish in time. It's a tough paper to get all that in there, but I'm sure you'll be absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much. Hit that thumbs up, guys, if you've joined tonight's live stream. We would really appreciate it. Alex, thank you. Yas, thank you. Molly, thank you. Bruno, thank you. If you're at my school, you've got a full briefing period 3 tomorrow, so you'll have a full briefing at school. Thanks, Harry. Thanks, QI. I'll see you Monday. Yeah, Monday we've got a live stream on paper 3. Okay, paper 3 live stream. But you've been awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy your evening. Keep revising. Go for that little walk and get an early night. Thank you. Bye-bye.